Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Rabbit and Red Reviews. I'm Eric, and today we are going to review the Aberlour 16-year-old single malt Scotch. Aberlour is located in the Speyside region of Scotland and is pretty much known for their sherry matured Scotches. This particular expression, the 16-year-old, is bottled at 40%. This is there are actually no mentions about coloring or chill filtration, so I think it's pretty safe to assume, even by just looking at it, that this is both colored with E150A and is chill filtered. So a little bit about this malt. This Aberlour single malt has been matured in two handmade oak cask types, traditional oak and the finest of sherry oak casks. The double maturation ensures a smooth and full taste in addition to the distinctive sweet, floral, and spicy flavors of Aberlour. Okay, so that's a little bit about this whiskey. There's a little bit more here actually on the bottle, so I'll share that as well. This 16-year-old Aberlour has been matured in two cask types, traditional oak and sherry oak. Specially selected every year, they are filled with whiskey and quietly aged for a minimum of 16 years, and the casks are married together. So that was a little bit about the process. The mix of rare and expensive sherry butts and traditional oak cask ensures the perfect balance of flavors. The double maturation adds depth of character to this single malt, giving it a distinctive sweet, floral, and spicy flavors of Aberlour. So they're definitely playing up this rich, full flavor that we should expect of the 16-year-old, and quite so for a whiskey that's been aged for a little while. Let's see what we get out of this. So bourbon and ex-sherry is what we're getting on this. Here's take a look at that color. As I mentioned, no mention on the bottle of natural coloring, so we can assume that we're getting some of that E150A in here to give it this, relatively nice aesthetic coloring to it. So on the nose, light. Nothing really strong coming out of this so far. Getting kind of almost like a fruit punch. Remember the smell of a bottle of like Hawaiian punch or fruit punch, and you're getting a bit of that. There's definitely a sweetness. You're getting some vanilla as well, which is definitely coming off that bourbon cask. The fruits are very bright and candy-like. Getting almost like strawberry, cherry, starburst candy kind of smell I'm getting off of this. Interesting. Yep, and a little bit of those spices. Definitely seeing some cinnamon. There's a little bit of clove, even coriander. Decent nose. Okay, so let's give this a taste. Initially on the nose, or pardon me, on the palate, it sets you up to expect kind of some intense, full flavor, but what I'm finding is that it's actually quite watery right when it gets into the development. The 40% ABV on this for a 16-year-old was definitely a red flag, and I can kind of see why it does feel a little bit lacking. You do get some of those spices. The fruit kind of stands up a little bit more, but boy, it fades really quick. And the finish is relatively short, bit drying. The oak casks kind of exerting themselves a bit here. Yeah, it's in a way sort of reminding me of a bottle of kind of rosé. Just very light. The flavors are quite muted and well blended together, but nothing really standing out. Yeah, Let's give this another taste. So yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, for a 16-year-old, I suppose you'd be expecting a little bit more depth and complexity, and really not getting it on here. The bourbon cask definitely shows itself. It's blended well. I mean, the bourbon cask marriage with those sherry butts, you know, they're pretty well mixed together here and married together, but nothing to really speak about in terms of you know, interesting flavors or any complexity at all. We'll try a little bit of water on this, although I'm hesitant given the 40% ABV. So the addition of water, the nose does perk up a little bit. The red fruit, stewed red fruits are a little bit stronger on the nose. Getting a little bit of a molassesy caramel as well, darker. Let's see if it does anything good to the palate here. Yeah, not much. Kind of the same as without the water. Boy, you'd really like to see a whiskey like this at 46%. I mean, I think that would make a wonderful difference. Heck, even 43% could really add some depth and character to this whiskey. But as it stands right now, this is rather disappointing. Further adding to that disappointment is the fact that, you know, Aberlour, 16-year-old, this ranges anywhere from around $70 to $100. I mean, so thinking about a 16-year-old Scotch that is definitely chill filtered, it's definitely colored, it's only at 40%, and combining that with the kind of disappointment I'm getting on the palate and finish, you know, this is something I just simply can't recommend to anybody. As far as a score on this, you know, maybe a bit more oxidization will help this out a bit, but this has still actually been oxidizing quite a while, so I'm going to actually just give this a 2 out of 5. So this isn't to recommend. If you come across it at a decent price at a bar, maybe worth giving it a try, but I couldn't say that this is worth picking up a bottle, especially at that price. And given that the other options you have out there for a sherry matured Scotch, you know, even a 12-year, which I think of things like Glenfarclas or Glenmorangie, Lasanta or Quinto Rubin, Glendronach 12, just much higher quality in my opinion. So just a quick look at the presentation. We do have a pretty cool looking bottle. It's kind of snub. It's really nice looking. The tube itself is actually quite wide. It takes up a bit of space, and a little bit of a dark green color. But yeah, so that's it for the Aberlour 16. I hope you find this review helpful, and until next time, sláinte.